Like to call to order the Tuesday, February 18th, 2025 meeting of the Bolton Conservation Commission. And pursuant to the amendment of Bill H3548 and Governor Healy signing such amendment into law in March of 2023, expressing certain provisions of the open meeting law, this public meeting of the Town of Bolton Conservation Commission is being conducted via remote participation. No in-person attendance of members of the public will be permitted, but the public can access this meeting while in progress by Zoom Video Communications, Inc. Members of the public attending this meeting virtually will be allowed to make comments if they wish to do so during the portion of the hearing designated for public comment by telephone, cell phone, or personal computer using Zoom. Some guidelines for participants: please utilize the chat or raise hand function to address the board. Participants will remain on mute until they have been addressed by the board, and participants are required to display their first and last names. All that said, by tradition, we will start with a roll call of present members. I am Brian Barabee.
Jim Garrity.
Laura Stevenson.
Hugh Mitra.
Perfect. All right. Well, first up this evening, I'd like to welcome Sue Mitra, newest member of the Conservation Commission. Today is her first official meeting, got sworn in recently, so appreciate your willingness to serve. I hope it is an enjoyable experience for you. And Lori, do you want to let Sue know how long you've been on the commission?
Not really.
I'm embarrassed to say how long I've been on, and I think you more than double me. So yes, for some, it's been a very positive experience. Lori cannot get enough.
I do take an absent though.
It's true. You get the little breaks. But again, appreciate you joining us here tonight. And to start, I think we have a relatively easy hearing because first up tonight, the Conservation Commission will now continue the public hearing under Mass General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40, and the Bolton Bylaw, Chapter 233, to continue the discussion of notice of intent for 89 Spectacle Hill Road. You possibly noticed in your packets that the applicant has requested a continuation. Again, they are looking to kind of change up those plans and possibly change up those plans in multiple ways. It's hard to get out there to spot anything on site. So they've requested a continuation. I see no reason why we would not grant that. Any members of the commission have any comments or questions or thoughts? All right. In that case, I'm gonna, and Lauren, can I ask, 7 o'clock still our first opening on March 4th?
Yes, correct.
Okay. In that case, I'm going to make a motion that we continue the public hearing for the notice of intent for 89 Spectacle Hill Road until our next public meeting, March 4th, 2025 at 7 o'clock p.m. Do I hear a second for continuing?
Second.
All right. All those in favor, starting with Jim.
Aye.
Lori.
Sorry. Hi.
You're fine. Sue.
Aye.
And Lauren, I'm an aye as well.
Thank you.
Excuse me. Okay, so next up this evening. Oh, am I ahead a little bit on time?
Yeah, we have about 3 minutes.
Okay. Our friends, the minutes. Did commission members have a chance to look through the minutes from the, I guess it was January 21st, 2025 meeting? If so, any edits, corrections, changes? If not, does anybody require more time, want to have more chance to look through the minutes? Okay. I'm going to make a motion that we approve the minutes for our January 21st, 2025 meeting as drafted and submitted at this evening's meeting. Do I hear a second for minutes?
Second.
All those in favor, starting with Jim.
Aye.
Lori.
Aye.
Sue.
Aye.
And Lauren, I'm an aye as well.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry. I'm trying to see what things that we can get to quickly. We generally won't start before the public posted time in case there are members of the public that want to comment on specific hearings. So if it says 7:10, you generally have to wait till 7:10 to start it. Sometimes there's other things on the agenda we can get through quickly in the interim, but right now we may just have to wait a minute.
We might have time for the continued request for certificate of compliance, the 38
Ooh.
Long Hill Road.
We could do that. Okay. Sure. Excuse me. You see on your agenda, it's that request for a certificate of compliance for 38 Long Hill Road. Still waiting basically for everything to thaw to see if that area had been stabilized properly. They had stabilized it, will keep through the winter. So kind of waiting for the thaw. So at this point, Rebecca really couldn't recommend taking any action on it. And I would think we would probably move to do the same. That we are just going to hold off until we can get out there to actually get a site visit and see if it's been stabilized. Okay. So we probably will not be voting on that. We'll be tabling that this evening. But look for it again at future meetings, and a thaw will come eventually, I am told. Doesn't feel it this week, but it will come.
And it's 7:10 now.
Look at that. All right. So the Bolton Conservation Commission will now open a public hearing under Mass General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40, and the Bolton Bylaw, Chapter 233, to consider a request for determination of applicability for South Bolton Road. On South Bolton Road, basically, the project involves the installation of one new pole and replacement of 6 additional poles within the right-of-way for South Bolton Road. Lauren, are you able to put up the plans for this?
Sure. And I think Kip Callahan is here to represent. Is that correct?
Thank you. I was going to say, if Kip, if you want to, would you be willing to walk us through the project and what you're proposing quickly?
Good evening. Yeah, I have the plans here if you want me to share them, but
Sure.
That would be even
I'm
better.
sure
Yeah,
that's
thank you.
fine as well. See. Actually, I'm not sure I can share my screen.
I can if you
Oh,
need me
there it
to.
is. Okay, I found it. Okay. Okay, so good evening. My name is Kip Callahan. I work for VHB, and I'm here representing the Massachusetts Electric Company, presenting this request for determination of applicability. So the project that's proposed is the installation of 2 new poles and 8 replacement poles along South Bolton Road. 6 of those replacements and 1 of the new poles are located within buffer zone. I have this plan set here, so I'll kind of just quickly run through that. This map kind of gives the broad overview of where this is. And then there are 3 sheets. It's a little bit hard to tell here, but this is South Bolton Road here, and Wheeler Road comes in here. So on this plan, we show the existing poles with the red dots, and the replacement poles are gray, and new poles will be yellow. So on this sheet, we can see this wetland here, and then there's proposed replacement poles at 76 and 75. And then on this sheet, we're continuing up along the line where this is where Wheeler Road intersects, and there's replacement poles proposed at 73, 72. And then down here on this last sheet, we continue along South Bolton Road. There's the new proposed pole at 69-2, replacements at 69, 68, 66, 65, and then this other new pole here at 65-84. This pole is actually what's called a stub pole. So the line won't actually be attached to this, but there's currently a guy wire that's supporting pole 65 that's attached to a tree across the street here. And so this proposed pole is meant to be installed adjacent to that tree so that the guy wire will be connected to that pole instead. The way these poles will be installed is through they'll be direct embed wooden distribution poles. So they'll use a truck mounted auger to drill the hole for the pole. It's about 18 inches in diameter. So each pole represents about 1.7 square feet of impact. The erosion controls will be installed according to the EG 303 NE standards that MECO uses. Those are attached at the end of the application. So if you want to see what those look like, they're kind of standards that are set, and then it's kind of at the discretion within the different types of whoever's doing the installation, exactly what standard they follow. So they'll use their best judgment, whether it's straw wattle or silt fencing, kind of depending upon what the situation on the ground looks like. And we've depicted those erosion controls on the plans as these little kind of purple barriers. So they'll put them down gradient of the installation. Let's see. And this project does qualify as a minor activity within buffer zone under 310 CMR 10.02 2B 2H, which exempts direct embedded poles in buffer zone, but it can also qualify as a limited project as part of utility maintenance. As they're in buffer zone, this also does fall under the jurisdiction of the Bolton bylaw that governs the adjacent upland resource areas. But once again, there is a provision within the bylaw. It's section 1.031J, which exempts projects related to this kind of utility work. And so we believe this project protects the interests identified in the WPA and in the bylaw. And so we ask the commission to find a negative determination of applicability.
All right, thank you for that explanation. I can say quickly, I'll open it up to questions afterwards, but I will say quickly for commission members in talking with Rebecca, that again, she was relatively comfortable with the project. It does meet the exemptions under the Wetlands Protection Act. Under the bylaw here, again, there are extra protections kind of placed in, but as far as the limit of work and the scope of work and the placement of these poles, how they're proposed to being done, she didn't have major concerns. There was a question of making sure the erosion controls were in place. I think she was happy with the erosion controls as they were being proposed, as they were proposed. There was one question, Kip, I'm going to put out to you around 69.2. If that new pole placement might need additional erosion controls, that's the one that kind of comes in closest to where we'd actually see kind of the wetland, the resource area comes in closest to that. But
Are you talking about right here?
Yeah. Is that the one, or is it the one across the street? It was the one that came in closest.
There's one up here, the 75. Is that?
No, I thought it was either 69.2 or maybe 68.
Okay.
We were looking.
Yeah, this one, I mean, it's still quite far.
Yeah.
But I think that the ground crew will follow those procedures. So it might be worth looking at. It's one of the attachments on here, kind of what those guidelines are. And if there's questions about that, maybe if within those guidelines that doesn't seem sufficient enough, maybe let us know and we could just provide some extra guidance to the contractor. But they should be making sure to install any erosion control to protect any sediment from moving down slope. And the thing is, these poles will all be installed, in one go. So they'll come out and they'll auger the hole they'll install the pole, they'll pack the spoils back around the pole, and remove any that are, anything that's too much excess. But there usually is very little excess because it's such a small impact area. And then, they'll leave erosion control kind of around that spoils pile.
Okay. And that was really that had come up when I had talked to Rebecca. But again, I mean, I can see the scope of the project. I know that area. I can picture where this is going for the most part. And I don't think I have additional questions right now, but let me open it up to the commission first. Any commission members have any additional comments, questions, or thoughts about this particular hearing?
When are they planning on doing the work? Yep. Wintertime or springtime or?
To be honest, I'm not entirely sure. I think it's always dependent on the permitting process. I think they're trying to get this done relatively soon because I believe it's in support of some new construction.
Okay.
But to be honest, I'm not sure about the timing.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions from commission members?
I'm good.
Not seeing any. Okay. Any members of the public here tonight have any questions or comments on this particular hearing? Again, not seeing any. Okay. I'm assuming when it comes to the materials, the poles, the materials that you use, I'm assuming they're basically on a truck that just follows along.
Yeah, they'll truck in the poles. I don't know if they'll stage, like,
Yeah,
I don't know
alright,
if they
yeah.
stage them somewhere. I don't think, we don't call out an area for staging. They'll have the pole there with a truck, but they're not gonna like unload them all in some place and then, be
Okay.
moving around, that kind of thing.
Because that's one condition we usually will add on about the stockpiling of materials that it's done outside of the resource area.
Yeah.
I can say outside of the resource area on existing roadway to the extent practicable. But just to kind of throw that in to basically, if you are going to stage them outside the resource area.
Yeah.
Which it looks like that you would have areas along here to do without a problem. Okay. Any other additional questions, comments, or thoughts from either commission members or the public regarding this hearing? And seeing none. All right. In that case, I'm going to make a motion that we close the public hearing for a request for determination of applicability for South Bolton Road, proposed new poles and pole replacement. Do I hear a second for closing?
Second.
All those in favor, starting with Jim,
Aye.
Lori,
Aye.
Sue,
Aye.
and Lauren, I'm an aye as well.
Thank you.
I'd like to make a motion that we issue a -3 determination for the project on South Bolton Road of pole replacement and new pole installation, with the following condition: that the stockpiling of materials is done outside of the resource areas or on existing paved roadway to the extent practicable. And that as proposed, proper erosion controls are in place before the work begins. Do I hear a second for issuing this determination? And before we get to that second, Lauren,
Yes.
do you have the wording for what a -3 determination is? And this is more so for Sue and probably good for anybody who's watching, but when it comes to a request for determination of applicability, there are, I forget how many things we can come up. There's 5 negative determinations and there's an amount of positive determinations. Negative determinations are actually allowing the person to do the work, but they're, could be for different reasons, that it's not jurisdictional, that it is jurisdictional, but all of those different. So I'm proposing that we issue a -3 with conditions, which basically, I was to say, if we can get to it, says that it is jurisdictional, the work can be done as conditioned, right?
Okay, so negative
Uh,
3 is the work described in the request is within the buffer zone as defined in the regulations, but will not alter an area subject to jurisdiction under the act. Therefore, said work does not require filing the notice of intent subject to the following conditions, if any.
So I'm proposing for this one that we come up, we have a -3 determination with those additional conditions that I had tacked on at the end there. And I'm asking, does anybody second that motion?
Second,
All right. All those in favor, starting with Jim,
aye.
Lori,
Aye.
Sue,
Aye.
and Lauren, I'm an aye as well.
Thanks.
All right. Excuse me. So next up this evening, the Bolton Conservation Commission will now hold a public hearing to discuss the request for determination of applicability for Route 117 / Main Street / the Stowe Town Line, submitted by the Bolton DPW.
Good evening.
Lauren, I was just say, Randy, I see you were here tonight. I've heard you were
Yeah.
under the weather recently. But I
I know
appreciate you.
I still am, so I'm going to have to kind of limit my discussion if that's okay. I'll just give you a very brief description of this project. It's a ultra thin bonded wearing course. It's basically a resurfacing of Route 117. 117 was last paved in 1995, and the goal is to go in there and mill out 3/4 to 1 inch of the existing surface wearing course, fill in the ruts that have developed over the years with a leveler, and then overtop the whole thing with an ultra thin bituminous wearing course. There is not anticipated to be any excavations. All the work is remaining within the existing paved roadway. It's not going to be any widening done. Even the Cape Cod berms that do exist in areas are intended to stay in those areas. We're just going to match the new wearing course up against the Cape Cod berms because it's a thin overlay, very thin overlay.
Right.
It is going to be milled. It's going to be milled. It's going to be, as they're milling, they're going to be sweeping it afterwards to pick up any remaining excuse me. Come back. They'll be sweeping the roadway to be picking up any debris as a result of the milling process. So fairly straightforward.
All right. Thank you.
I did provide the contractor in the bid package the erosion wetland control plans that were developed for the 1995 pavement project, which I think I included as part of the application. It's being provided to the contractor as guidance only, to indicate where wattles were to be installed, where the catch basins existing, and protection within the catch basins are to be installed. That's all included within their contract.
Okay. Again, thank you. And thanks again for coming in tonight. I had a chance to talk to Rebecca about this one as well. I think we were in agreement. I think she saw too that especially under the Wetlands Protection Act, this clearly would be exempt as routine maintenance. And then it's kind of a question under our own bylaw, would we see it the same? I think I would. I think so. She had given me the chapter and verse. See if I can. Under our bylaw, it's section 1.03 or chapter 1.03, section 1G, basically allows us to make something exempt for the purposes of basic maintenance or repair work on an existing road. So in talking with Rebecca and looking with what our bylaws say, I'm comfortable that just from my point of view that this is routine maintenance, regular maintenance, and therefore would be it would probably be a -5 determination for the RDA. that's kind of where I'm sitting with it, but let me open it up first to questions from any commission members. Have any comments, questions, or thoughts?
Just the timeline.
Randy, are you able to have an estimated timeline for this?
It'll be this construction season. It's advertised out currently with a bid opening proposed for next week. And for the contract completion date by October, I think it's the 31st. So it'll be in this construction season. Has to be done during warmer weather because it's an ultra thin layer of blacktop. It doesn't retain heat like if you're putting down 2 inches of mix. So it has to be done during warm weather. It has to be done during dry weather too, because when they put the tack coat down to made up with the wearing course, has to be has to be put in the dry, cannot be wet at all.
Is this a 1-day process or a multiple day process?
I would envision the milling would be probably 2 to 3 days. Then they would come in and do the leveler probably in 1 day in a few areas where it's rutted, and then the bonded wearing course, I'm not sure, probably I would think 2 days. Maybe 3. That would be my guess now, but obviously it's contractors' means and methods. They determine how they execute the work.
So roughly about a week's worth of time.
I would say 1 to 2 weeks total, yeah. And there may be some delay if they, say we determine that catch basin has to be adjusted or has to be rebuilt. They bring in a different crew to do that kind of work. So that will push off paving a day, or, if you get rain, I mentioned it's very weather dependent process. If it's going to be a rainy time, they're not going to be able to put the top down.
Yeah, I'm just personally concerned because back in '95, it went right through the fall season, and obviously that's not do good for business.
No, depending on what roads.
I agree. Yeah, it's not, like I said, it's not. It cannot be put down in the cold, just by nature of the material that's being used.
Additional questions or comments? Any members of the public here tonight to comment or have questions for this particular issue or particular hearing? I'm not seeing any. All right. Yeah, I guess I would say we're people come. I mean, I felt it would be exempt under basically maintenance. I think Rebecca was comfortable with erosion controls that were in place, or basically what was proposed, what had been sent to the contractors. So didn't feel the need to add any additional conditions or see anything else that we would need to add on. So I think I would be proposing that we do a -5 determination, which it's basically jurisdictional but exempt. If people are comfortable, something, all right. In that case, I'm going to make a motion that we close the public hearing for the request for determination of applicability for Route 117 / Main Street / the Stowe Town line submitted by the Bolton DPW. Do I hear a second for closing?
Second.
All right. All those in favor of closing, starting with Jim,
Aye.
Lori,
Aye.
Sue,
Aye.
and Lauren, I'm an aye as well.
Okay.
I'm going to make a motion that we issue a -5 determination for the request for determination of applicability for the Route 117 Main Street Stowe Town line request by the Bolton DPW. All those in favor, or do I hear a second for issuing a -5 determination?
Second.
All right. All those in favor, starting with Jim,
Aye.
Lori,
Aye.
Sue,
Aye.
and Lauren, I'm an aye as well.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Ken.
Have a good night.
Yeah, thanks for coming in, Randy. Hope you feel better.
Thank you.
All right. Next up, we had Long Hill. Excuse me. Lauren, do we have the reps from the high school, Green Road? here
So-
with us
Yeah,
this
Ally.
week?
I'm here.
Yeah, Ally Atherton's here.
Okay, so for commission members, we have a discussion for 2 potential field amendments for the Green Road project. Rebecca had asked that they be split into 2 separate ones, so we could kind of look at each one separately. But if I was able to walk us through them, I'm hopeful we can kind of have them all in one discussion.
Okay.
I was gonna say we can take them one at a time, especially when we vote. But Ally, if you could just kind of give us the quick walkthrough, that would be fantastic.
Okay. So a part of our project, we need to bring in temporary power service off of 117. We're finally at the point where we've gone through engineering with National Grid. They came out on site, walked with our team, and we figured out a course of action as to where we can install 4 overhead poles and then run the rest of the service to the soon-to-be project site or the building. So one of the poles, the last one that we would like to install, is just within the 75-foot buffer line. So that's what kicked off this request, because it's a similar install process as to the poles that were described earlier in this meeting, where we would auger off of a truck mounted auger down 8 feet and then install this pole. In the email that I sent Rebecca, I had mentioned installing erosion control around this process when we're doing the truck mounted augering. So we would keep that in place, and then any spoils that are removed from the hole, we will remove them outside of the buffer at that same time. So there wouldn't be any stockpiling of that material within the buffer line. That's it in a quick synopsis.
Okay. I was gonna say, so for the first one, as far as putting the additional power line in, just for commission members, in talking with Rebecca, she was relatively comfortable with it. It is within the existing area of work. It is a temporary thing going in, a temporary basically change going in. When it gets removed, everything gets back to the way it was on the original plan. Didn't think that would cause much of an issue, but it's worth discussing. I'm comfortable with it. Curious if there are comments, questions, or thoughts. Again, this is regarding this first potential field amendment for the temporary power distribution line within the buffer zone.
Yep.
Do people have additional comments, questions, or thoughts on that particular one? All right. Any members of the public here tonight to comment on this particular hearing? Okay. Seeing none. Alec, do you want to walk us through the second one?
Yep.
Okay.
So the second request we have has to do with that same 75-foot buffer line on the west portion of our site when you drive in. So over the summer, we were able to essentially mass excavate the building footprint and install structural fill, so new material from Onyx, the company that we're using. So it's all clean material, but now because of the winter that we have had, we have close to 3 feet of frost in the ground. So as we are proceeding with excavating for foundations, we have all of this material that's frozen. And just because of the logistics on site, we don't have anywhere to store this material, because on the backside of the building, we have the Tennessee gas line. We have the existing building to the east with the football field. So we're kind of pigeonholed in what we have. On the backside of the easement, we do have some area, but that is currently for snow storage. We don't have any room to put any more of the frozen material. So right now, our only option is to store this material just within the buffer line. So it's within the 75-foot buffer. We have the existing erosion control and silt fence within our limit of work line. It's already installed. So we're proposing to stockpile this material just within that 75-foot buffer with 2 layers of the erosion control and added silt fence around the stockpile itself, and then spraying fiber mulch over top of the pile to stabilize it while it's in place for the next, say, 12 months while we are proceeding with foundations. We're able to use some of it as our backfill material, but then some of it will stay on site for later work in that area. So it's just a temporary means to be able to continue foundations and not halt that work just because of the logistics we have and not having much room.
Lauren, are you able to pull up the image on screen of where the proposed stockpile location would be?
Sure.
That's the good one. Yeah.
Yep.
So it's basically that yellow circle is where we're looking.
So it's actually that red area.
Red. Okay.
Yep, that yellow circle is an existing head wall and catch basin that's in that area that we're saying we will install the double erosion control and steel plates over that. There's nothing currently tied into that. That's just a protective measure to make sure no material gets in there. But it's that red area there just inside that 75-foot buffer, right off of the limit of work line.
All right. So, and just for commission members, this is another one in talking with Rebecca. Again, we saw the need for, understand where you're kind of forced into trying to find a location where this would work. This is one of the few that would. She was, again, comfortable with it, again, that it is within the limit of work. Everything here will still be restored to the way it was supposed to be restored. She had some questions on this one, which I can see too, is wondering if it would make sense to put in an additional layer or 2 of erosion control, basically from the toe of that resource area coming down to the foot of the stockpile slope. If it would make sense to additional erosion controls at the toe and along the base of the stockpile and staggered toward the resource area. It was a question of could we put in some additional erosion controls. Again, basically just an extra layer of protection depending on the size of that stockpile.
Yep.
I'm guessing that's something you would be amenable to.
Yeah, definitely.
Hopefully.
We can do that.
Okay. So for commission members, that was really the only question Rebecca had. And Lauren, I was just saying, I know you had spoken with her too. I'm not sure if I'm missing something. But other than that, like I said, similar to the first one, it is within the current limit of work. It is getting restored to what it was supposed to be after the fact. And she was relatively comfortable with it.
Yep. I think there is another recommendation to the commission that she had regarding just doing daily inspections around the basin and adjacent head wall to ensure no sediment impacts the structure nor migrates beyond the limit of work.
Okay. We can definitely do that. We have our SWIP inspections in play already, but we can just create another iteration of that in Procore for a daily inspection.
Okay.
We can
Okay.
fill that out.
Oh, and regarding the first discussion that we had about the distribution line,
Yes.
she also had a consideration for the disturbed area shall be stabilized upon completion of installation, then restored upon completion of removal. Something for the commission to consider, including as a condition.
Okay.
Okay.
And I was to say, Allie, that would sound workable to you.
Yeah, so she's basically requesting us to stabilize the material right when the pole's installed.
Yeah.
Okay.
Correct. And when removed.
Okay, yep. Yeah,
Please.
yep.
Yeah.
yeah, we have I'm pretty sure in that area it's grass seed there. So yeah, we will be doing that after the fact.
Okay. All right. So all that said, commission members have any additional questions or comments People relatively comfortable if we were to issue something along, issue this type of field amendment with the conditions we discussed? All right. And again, I'll ask any members of the public here tonight to comment on this particular hearing or either of these particular discussion points. Again, seeing none. All right. So these are, let's see, give me 1 second. I know we normally do these via roll call vote. I just want to make sure I am calling out the proper one. Okay. So I'd like to call for a roll call vote on the request for a temporary power distribution line within the buffer zone at the project at 12 Green Road, DEP file number 1120748. I'd like to call for a roll call vote. All those in favor of allowing this as a field amendment with the following condition: that any disturbed area shall be stabilized upon completion of installation, then restored upon completion of removal. Please say aye if you're in favor of allowing this as a field amendment. God, I hope that all made sense. Starting with Jim.
Aye.
All right. Lori,
Aye.
Sue,
Aye.
and Lauren, I'm an aye as well.
Thank you.
All right. Again, I'd like to call for a roll call vote regarding our discussion of 12 Green Road and the field amendment request to stockpile structural fill material within the buffer zone adjacent to the new building. I'd like to call for a roll call vote that we approve this field amendment with the following conditions: that additional erosion control should be installed along the toe of the stockpile. Additional erosion control shall be installed staggered toward the resource. And that the basin and adjacent headwall outlet should be included in daily.
I think that's supposed to say inspected daily, not included daily.
Thank you. All right, and that the basin and adjacent headwall outlet should be inspected daily to ensure no sediment impacts structure nor migrates beyond the limit of work. All those in favor of allowing that field amendment with those conditions, please say aye. Starting with Jim.
Aye.
Lori.
Aye.
Sue.
Aye.
And Lauren, I'm an aye as well.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you. All right.
Thank you
All right. Have a good night. Appreciate you coming in.
as well.
All right.
Thank you, everybody.
Don't believe there's any updates on the enforcement orders. Sad to say with the Forest Legacy program, it's currently on hold due to federal grant funding that's in question at present. So we're not sure where that will go. That funding's coming from the federal side. It's been held up, so the project's kind of on hold, but not dead. It's still moving along. I guess we're just still trying to find out answers. And we'll see where that goes. But sadly, that is on hold right now. Trail stewardship projects are currently ongoing, and appreciate everybody that has been working on them. Our volunteer land steward position is currently still available, if anybody who wants it. And we do still have one, right? 1, 2, 3. Yeah, we still have one position left on the Conservation Commission if anybody in town is interested. Lauren, are there any updates that I missed?
I don't have anything else. I think you covered everything.
Okay. Commission members, anybody have any new business? Anything they would like to discuss? Okay. In that case, we did minutes. Okay. I think we are all set. So, by tradition, we will have the newest member of the Conservation Commission lead us in the singing of the Bolton Town Anthem. to close out this evening's meeting. So, Sue, if you would like to take it away when you are ready.
Which is what?
Totally can. Sorry, I had to do that. I almost forgot. No, I would like to make a motion that we hereby adjourn the Tuesday, February 18th, 2025 meeting of the Bolton Conservation Commission. Do I hear a second for adjourning?
Second.
All those in favor, starting with Jim,
Aye.
Lori,
Hi.
Sue,
Aye.
and Lauren, I'm an aye as well.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you all. See you in 2 weeks, if not before.
Have a good
Thank you.
night.
All right, thank you.
Recording stopped.